So what do you do when you have an underperforming division? So today we had a division where the last few years it's been just floating along. It's just had not much growth. It's kind of been up a little one year, down a little. And in the big scheme of things, in the industry in which it serves, it's not a major player. Let's put it that way. It's what we call a diversification. It's outside our normal core business, but significantly related. And it actually, the competitors are a lot of the same competitors that we have in our core business. Well, the first thing we have to identify in this exercise is, what is the market like for this business as a whole? And the reality is that our normal three competitors are competitors in this market, and they hold the largest market share. And I don't know exactly what it is. We're researching that, but it's certainly well above 50%. There's actually a fourth, and if you combine all of them in in this market, they serve about close to 60-70% of the customers. I'll have to verify that. Well, we know that we can't just go compete on a grand scale as a generalist in this market because we'll get killed. We have economies of scale just because we're a large company, but we don't in this particular segment. Our cost structure is not the same, so our only ability to compete with these other companies is accepting a much lower margin. And the problem with something like that is if they get wind that that's what we're doing, they can just crush us in RFPs by discounting their margin a little until we go away. Or they can go after every business that they know we get, they can specifically target those accounts and easily undercut us. So that's not a sustainable position. So what we do have to do is instead find a niche, realizing that we're going to be between 1 and 5% of this marketplace. We got to be very narrowly focused on what we do, and we got to make sure that we're in areas where our competitors can't just come along and essentially undercut us by just reaching out to our customers and saying, hey, the next time you're up for an RFP, let us know. RFP's request for proposal. Let us know. We'd like to go ahead and do that, because they would just kill us and undercut us. So what we need to do, and we haven't exactly worked out this strategy yet, but this is the general strategy, is focus on providing this service as an offshoot to customers where we currently provide the service. So these are customers, being in the healthcare industry, they need this service, and they're currently having it provided, frankly, by our competitors. And we need to focus only where we currently serve these customers at the accounts where we're going after, because a couple of things will happen. Number one, we're already at the account, so we have economies of scale at the account. We already have people servicing the account. We have supplies going there. There would be economies of scale for this new service, and we're protected against our competitors going ahead and coming in and undercutting us, because at our existing customers, we can build defensible margins to where our competitors can't come in and undercut us. So that's an example of, when you're looking for a particular, any business, but for us it would be a division, a diversification, you've got to first look at the market as a whole. Can you be competitive in the market as a whole? And often the case is no, because there's already going to be 3 or 4 generalists out there who are currently serving the market. They're already fighting for market share, and they're easily going to be able to defend against us because we don't have the scale to compete at similar margins. But if you find a specialty where you can get between that 1 to 5% of the market space, that's a sweet spot where you can still earn high returns, because in our case, we can still be economically competitive and drive and make our margins defensible so people can't undercut us. You can survive and thrive, and that's what we're going to look to do from a general strategic perspective. We got to work it out a little further. What is interesting. Ultimately, hopefully we get up to that 5% market share. And that seems to be the space where we become a pseudo generalist and we have to decide to either compete with the market as a whole or remain a specialist and maybe subdivide into different segments. So it'll be interesting to see when it gets there, but candidly right now we have less than 1% of the market, so we got to work on getting up to that as a specialist for the time being. So just kind of a real life example of some of the stuff I've been talking about the difference between market generalists and specialists, and this is kind of reflective of that U-shaped market share to return ratio where we've got to stick on the specialist side of the market share between 1 and 5% in order to make sure that we earn a decent return. And frankly, if we tried to compete on the market as a whole, we may build up ourselves to 5%, but we'd have to spend a lot of money in overhead to do that, especially in sales and marketing, and our returns would just be terrible to do that. So we've got to stick there, be lean, but focus on a certain specific market segment, and that's how we're going to win in this particular diversification. Hope that helped.